We are live, I think. We are live, right? Let me know in the chat. I think we're live. Tell me. It's been a while since I've done this. So I'll just sit here, wait for a couple of seconds, and I'll quickly jump into the chat before. Okay, thanks, Ben. Yeah, you are seeing, Mike. Thank you. Let's just quickly acknowledge the chat before we carry on with tonight's stream. Jan, what's up, man? Lorne, hope you're feeling better, man. I know you had a bit of a prang a few days ago. We were all a bit worried for a minute, but hopefully the fact that you're typing tonight on your keyboard, that's got to be a good sign. My chest and side are in agony, but at least I'm slowly getting my hand back. Long way to go, man. That sucks, man. I feel for you. I mean, I've never been in a car crash, but I can only imagine like the shit that you're going through right now. I mean, like I say, I've never been involved in one, but yeah. So we're all rooting for you, man. But like you say, you're here tonight, so it's not all bad. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, it could be better. You might not be sat here like talking to me rabbit on, but I'm glad you're here. Let me put it that way. Yeah, it takes time. I've been there. It's like you're on the path. Exactly. How was my vacation? My vacation was it was fantastic, Dan. Yeah, it really was. Yeah, so basically I did is what's considered like the Scotland's Route 66. So if you can imagine, obviously it's on a far lesser extent. It's called the North Coast 500. It's like a 500-mile road trip that takes you up. So you drive up to Inverness on the east coast of Scotland, and then you start from that's your base. You start from there and you drive up the east coast, round the top to John O'Groats, which is like kind of like the most northerly point of Scotland, right across down the west coast. And yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, the scenery in Scotland is just like on another level. I mean, we get some nice scenery in England and Wales, but it's not to the level of what you get in Scotland. And yet, Loch Ness is just immense. Like, literally, when I got to Loch Ness, like, I kind of came back to Loch. I kind of started off in Inverness, which is kind of near Loch Ness, but I didn't go to Loch Ness itself. Did like full up the east coast, down right across the top, down the west coast. Came back to near my starting point, which is Loch Ness, which is near Loch Ness. Went to Loch Ness, and Loch Ness. It's just like when I arrived at Loch Ness, it was kind of it was like early morning, like 10 a.m. Well, mid morning, and it had kind of like there was like a mist on the loch, and I just thought this is just like fucking Jason Takes Manhattan, because it's just like I've always said, like in Camp Crystal Lake in Friday 13 Part 8 is just reminiscent of Jason Takes Manhattan. It doesn't. I know it's Canada, Scotland. There's quite a fair resemblance in some of the scenery there, but it felt like Camp Crystal Lake. But yeah, Loch Ness is just immense. Like you can literally you can drown the entire population of planet Earth in Loch Ness twice over. Like 16 billion people. You can put 16 billion people into Loch Ness and they disappear without a trace. That's how big it is. It's that big. It's that deep. It's something like 900 feet deep. So yeah, it's just yeah, and that was like the highlight, but didn't see Nessie, unfortunately. Would have been nice, but unfortunately, Loch Ness Monster doesn't exist, I don't think. I'd love him to, but I just can't see it. Um, yeah, I did put a few photos, in a few of the, Twitter groups as well. Yeah, lawn you can buy lawn sausage in Scotland, literally Lorne, lawn sausage. So, I had some of lawn sausage in Scotland without being, you know I'll just leave it there. Um, um, knowing me product is yeah, forget I said anything. Yeah, exactly. Um, hey Ben. Oh, what's up, Cliff? Um, yeah. Um, what are we getting to? Photos look gorgeous. Thank you, thank you, Dan. Yeah, Jason versus the Loch Ness Monster is coming. So yeah, I thought I would just try and start these like sort of like monthly live streams where I try and cover a few bases in terms of what's going on in the sort of world of horror movies and TV shows and shit. I haven't really done a solo stream for a long time because I've always had somebody to back me up. But time to get sort of like back on the horse, as they say. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on at the minute, like in terms of like horror movies. There's it's just in general, just horror movies, and other forms of like entertainment in terms of movies and whatnot. But what I thought I'd get into first start. Let me just start off like I've made my notes here, so I'm just gonna. So yeah, just got my bullet points for tonight's stream. Um, yeah, so basically, um, starting off wise, a few of the movies I have like watched in the last couple of weeks, not watched an awful lot. Obviously, being on like vacation, holidays, but came back and did check out the new Ghostbusters movie, and that movie is an abomination, in my opinion. I don't understand any love that movie I don't think it got a lot of love when it came out, but I did see some people saying they preferred it to Afterlife. I don't understand that at all. I thought Afterlife was a I wasn't a massive fan of Ghostbusters Afterlife, but I thought Afterlife was a better movie than this. I even think Ghostbusters 2016 was a better movie than this. And 2016 is an atrocious movie, but it's atrociously bad, and it's funny bad. Whereas this is just boring. It's just dull. They try and fit way too many characters into this movie. I mean, like if you look at what made the original movie so good, you've got like the charisma of Venkman. You've got like Ray's almost like as like a comedy character as well. Venkman sort of like he kind of plays off Venkman as well. Egon definitely plays off them as the sort of serious role, and he got Winston. Janine is kind of like thrown in as a side character, but she plays a role well enough. And then obviously you've got Sigourney Weaver as like the love interest. Well, this movie just tries to throw in like way too many characters. It's like you've got three of the original cast, obviously minus Harold Ramis. You've got Janine back. You've got all these characters who came on board on Afterlife. You've got Paul Rudd, who he's just I mean, he's just phoning it in. You've got his love interest from the previous movie. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's really strange because like we're so used now to like, when we watch movies back in the day, we kind of thought like actresses and actors looked older than what they were, and now they look a lot younger. Paul Rudd's love interest, her name escapes me. She's like in real life, she was born in 1981, and I was like, I thought she was about like to me, she looks older than Paul Rudd, and Paul Rudd is born in 1969. Paul Rudd obviously is famously youthful. He doesn't look like a 53, 54-year old. But his love interest in the movie is kind of like I don't buy it because it's almost like this is going to sound really bad, but it's almost like she's not like hot enough for him, even though she's like 12, 13 years younger than him in real life. And I don't know if it's the hairstyle or what, but she just looks so like I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but you know, you throw in obviously, you know, the kids. You've got the guy from Stranger Things. Whatever his name escapes me. You've got, you know, Egon Spengler's granddaughter, who's probably like the star of the movie. I mean, most of the spotlight's focused on her for reasons that I kind of think are maybe slightly political. I'm not going to go into that one. I just think if you've seen the film and you know the way Hollywood agenda is in 2024, you'll know why they focus on her more maybe than anybody else. Um, but Finn Wolfhard, yeah, she is Ben. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't mind Finn Wolfhard. I mean, I love him in Stranger Things. In this movie, I prefer him in Afterlife to this. Like I say, everybody is just trying to scramble for things to do. You've got this really weak sort of. It's not. I'd say it's a side plot regarding the big bad of the movie because it does feel like a side plot because when you're trying to fit all these characters into a movie, you kind of left with the main sort of like emphasis of the movie being pushed to the back burner, which is like this sort of like well, not want to say ancient, but you know, old sort of like evil from back in the day. And like nobody gives a shit. No, I mean, I didn't give a shit about this film. I didn't give a shit about anybody in the film. It was just a complete and utter nonsense. It's box ticking exercise, you know, bring Bill Murray back for reasons completely pointless. You know, Ghostbusters is a franchise that could have easily ended in '89. I would have been quite happy with that. Um, but yeah, this is what they do now. They just drag stuff out constantly. You know, making money. I mean, I don't know whether this made any money, and I mean, I'd be curious to check out the. I mean, if somebody's got the box office figures for this movie, you know, put it in the chat because I didn't. I don't think it was a huge hit. I could be wrong, but I just when it dropped in the UK on the cinemas, I was no way I was checking it out. I'm waiting for streaming. Um, but yeah, I mean, massive disappointment, and yeah, Ghostbusters needs to die. Um, let's just back in the chat before we just talk about a couple more movies that I've seen. Had the mouthful of that sausage. Lawn sausage is huge in the UK. Lawn sausage is huge in the UK, or lawn sausage is huge in the UK. They need to move on from the legacy characters. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, well, I mean, if they carry on with this franchise, then Bill Murray's going to be about 80. I mean, my God, Winston. What's Winston's name? Fucking hell. His name is I can't remember his real name, but like the guy's 78. He looks fantastic for his age. My God. I mean, if he's 8 years older than Bill Murray, or no, 4 years older than Bill Murray, it's just crazy to think. Um, Carrie Coon is the actress. Yeah. Um, she's good in the show called The Leftovers. I've not seen that. Um, yeah, he got slammed and nothing else. Yeah, exactly. He's the car guy. Um, I thought it was a decent popcorn film, but they have improvements to make. Moving on from the legacy characters is a must. It's lame shoehorning them in now. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Um, moving on from like another movie, like this movie is not in any way Ernie Hudson. Thanks, Dan. A movie that dropped the other day. I mean, I just watched this on the old Pirate Bay. It wasn't a movie that was. I remember the trailer dropping a couple of months ago, thinking that looks really interesting because I mean, I'm a sucker for small town slasher movies. Founders Day, which going by the trailer, thought looks decent, very much in the vein of Thanksgiving. And It's a Wonderful Knife. You know, you take these small towns. I mean, I like small town slasher movies. I mean, I think if you look at Halloween as a case in point, you know, small town slasher movies are kind of like one of my favorite genres of of horror movies. But they've been done to death in the last sort of like 12 months. We've had, I mean, Thanksgiving was a decent um movie. I mean, it wasn't fun. The reveal at the end kind of left me a little bit. Yeah, I wasn't really happy with that. But likable characters to a point, and it did what it said on the it did what it said on the tin, as like very English expression. It's a Wonderful Knife was kind of more of a supernatural themed small town slasher. That movie was fucking horrendously bad. I mean, that was almost as bad as the fucking Jester, which if anybody's seen that movie, fuck me, that don't watch the Jester. This kind of falls somewhere in between. Founders Day, yeah, very forgettable characters. Um, I won't. It's not really a spoiler to say like more than one killer. Um, Decent mask, I will say, decent mask. Um, the whole premise of like, I mean, the Founders Day thing doesn't really come into it. Like, I don't really understand what Founders Day even means, but it's to do around a mayoral election that's going on. That's the crux of the sort of scenario. But yeah, characters you just don't give a shit about. I mean, that is the problem. I mean, if you take bad direction and characters that you just don't like, then you're onto it's just you're onto a loser, really. I mean, if you have like good direction with bad actors, you can maybe get something out of it. I mean, and vice versa. I mean, and if a movie is set in the 80s with that combination, well, I'm prepared to overlook it because it's an 80s movie and I love 80s movies. But if you're going to make a movie in 2024 with that and nothing appeals to me, then it's just going to be instantly forgettable. But Founders Day was, yeah, that's it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Um, there were a fair few other movies I did. Right, okay, this is one which got really, really bad reviews. This got worse reviews than Founders Day. I actually quite liked it, and that was Model House. Um, I actually quite enjoyed this because it's not great, but I like the self-contained elements of the movie where you force people into a small location, like like a sort of like luxury apartment, or this in this case quite a luxury house with like a lot of bedrooms, but it's cut off from like you know the wider sort of world. And at least in that case, you kind of get to know the characters and you kind of build a rapport with them. And even though they're like very, very vain, vacuous, sort of like Instagram sort of influencers, as annoying as they are, it kind of like you kind of overlook that because at least you're invested in the characters because at least the focus is totally on them in a small self-contained way. You've got like four characters in a house and you focus completely on them, and any subplots is kind of like by the by. You don't really see that. Founders Day was just like forcing too many characters into a movie, and then giving everybody like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. With Model House, you've got four girls. I think it's four girls, 4 or 5 girls. Can't remember, but all the focus is on them until shit starts to go down. And also the kind of reasoning for like why shit goes down is kind of it's very, very sort of like 2024. It makes sense in a kind of modern way, 2024 way. You can almost see like why they've got like the antagonists, you know, without going into too much spoilers. You can see why they've kind of got a reason for doing what they do. But it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but at least I was invested. I mean, did I check my phone while I was watching that movie for like those 85 minutes a couple of times? But Founders Day, you know, I was kind of checking my phone quite a lot. So, that's always a good, idea of how much a movie resonates with you. If you're constantly checking your phone, checking how long the movie's got left to go, it's fair to say that movie's not really struck with you. Um, but yeah, I mean, not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not bad, in my opinion. And I would say opinions are like arseholes. Everybody's got one. Um, Bill Murray was a joke in this movie. I figured Annie Potts would get something more important to do. Yes, yeah. Um, I think only the first Ghostbusters and the original cartoon are any good. The rest don't need to exist in my head. I loved the Ghostbusters cartoon from the 80s. Love that cartoon. That's so good. Yeah, and for me, it's like the original movie, then the cartoon, the 80s cartoon, and then 2. Anything after that, no, not interested. There's a lot to adapt from the cartoon, yeah. Um, the Jester is ass. The Jester's terrible. It's just like so badly wants to be Terrifier. It's just like without like the extreme gore. Um, I like the original cartoon with the ape. Um, the real Ghostbusters is pretty good too. Yeah. Um, oh, what's up, Jay? What's up, man? Um, let's see. I'd love to see what Mike thinks if I saw the TV live. I've not seen it yet. I think that is getting a cinema release, is it? Like, Dan, let me know because it's certainly not going to get a cinema release in the UK. I don't know whether it's going to get a. Is it dropping on streaming or is it going to cinema first? I've no idea. Like in the UK, we'll just get it on whatever streaming platform or VOD. But oh, it's out now. Um, is it out now on streaming or and if so, who's streaming it? If it's because yeah, like I say, if it's cinema, then I'm gonna have to wait. Um, so last but not least, one other movie I did want to talk about was Late Night with the Devil. Um, I think most people probably would have seen it. I know Dan, obviously, Lauren, you've both seen the movie. Um, fantastic reviews online, for the most part. I really enjoyed Late Night with the Devil for like maybe, I mean, the movie's like what, 90 minutes long? I think for like about 75, 80 minutes, I was totally on board. I was just loved it, loved it. Um, the last 10 minutes kind of take me out of it a little bit, only because I think they kind of just go a bit too far. But then you kind of had this ending, which is a bit up in the air as to what's actually gone on. Like, I really need to like rewatch it or, you know, check out a sort of like, what really happens because it's very sort of like by the numbers, sort of like late night TV for the longest time. Um, and obviously you bring the skeptic on who kind of like destroys any sort of like idea that whatever's going on is real. And I love that element of the film as well. I love the skeptic being on really kind of like works well because like for everything you see, you think, well, this is definitely some sort of possession. And even before they bring the girl on, he's on there anyway, you know, disregarding anything that's happened up to that point. And then when she comes on and then she looks directly, I can't remember if she looks direct when she says hello to the presenter, his name escapes me, and she looks directly at him or at the camera. I can't remember, but it's so creepy that the way she plays that. It's like, yes, she's already fucking possessed. It's not one of them where she's come out and she's not in character. You're thinking, yeah, this girl's already under the possession of something fucked up. Um, but then the way they have the skeptic sort of like downplaying everything, and even like when you get to like the bit where she does the face off with the woman, and he still explains that away, and you kind of start to think, well, maybe this is all just like a nonsense. And I really like the way they did that because even when things get crazy, there's always an explanation, and I think that's kind of the way it works with a lot of stuff that you see, online, and there's always like a level-headedness of somebody who comes and explains it away, and you think, how can that be? But I mean, I will say that the final 10 minutes do kind of take it over the edge a little bit, and I was kind of like wanting that like ambiguity of like, well, was it real? Was it not real? And then again, the last couple of minutes where I'm kind of wondering, like, well, I'm not entirely sure what's gone on now, but definitely takes cues from Ghostwatch. You know, in terms of like the studio setting, obviously it's it's highly studio based. It doesn't go out out of the studio and do like any stuff the way that Ghostwatch does. And this is very similar to Ghostwatch, but in some ways is not similar. I mean, Ghostwatch was kind of a one-off. Um, you can compare it to Ghostwatch in a way, but in a way you can't, because the only way you could really it's almost impossible to make a Ghostwatch in 2024. You'd have it could only exist before the internet. The only way Late Night with the Devil could really exist as a Ghostwatch is to go out on live TV, and nobody watches live TV anymore, and do what they do and just freak the fuck out of people, which it's not going to work anyway, because obviously, every people would just be going hashtag Late Night with the Devil, on Twitter, and it would be a case of, yeah, this is fake. This is pre-recorded. So you just can't do that. But as good it's as close as what we're going to get to something like Ghostwatch is this sort of format. I mean, I honestly, genuinely, to be honest with you, I'm going to backtrack now, because you could probably do something like this on YouTube in terms of a Ghostwatch scenario. It wouldn't work on mainstream TV, but you could do it on YouTube, like a fake live stream. I don't know how possible it is, but a fake live stream with a big budget could possibly work. But yeah, like I say, Late Night with the Devil, fantastic. With the last 10 minutes took me out of the movie a little bit, but apart from that, I had a great time with it. It's something different, at least. It's something that it's just not generic, and so yeah, fully on board of it. Um, let's just go back into the chat. If I can find it. Furiosa in a Violent Nature. Yeah, in a Violent Nature. So yeah, that's one that I think a lot of people are just really sort of like looking forward to. I know that's another movie that's not going to get. It's not going to see the light of day in UK cinemas, so it's going to have to be streaming for me. But I think it drops on streaming the day after it goes in cinema. I don't know. Is it streaming almost like a day after it goes into cinemas? I don't know. Yeah, Lorne. I know Lorne's a big fan of Late Night with the Devil. Piz was not as big a fan as what I thought he'd be when I saw his review. He was like, he liked it up to a point, but then he um kind of lost interest. Let's say lost interest. I think he was I mean, he said he thought it wasn't a patch on Ghostwatch, but I know Piz is like a huge Ghostwatch mark. So, um, yeah, it's been a good year. I really have a strong top 10. I have just started watching the Nicolas Cage End of the World movie, Arcadium. Is it? That's not bad. It's okay. It's okay so far. I'm like halfway through. Um, all of the answers in the pre-credit sequence. Okay. Um, Horror People. It's imaginary good. I've heard it's terrible, Jay. It's from the people who made Megan, I think, but Megan was actually quite fun. Imaginary's probably just shit. Yeah, I thought it sucked. I haven't heard any from any fellow YouTubers who liked it. Guess okay. You normally get at least a couple of shills. Dan, on good authority, besides the kills, in a Violent Nature is straight up boring on purpose. Bring no expectations into line. I'm wondering if the killer POV gimmick can sustain at runtime. Well, is it a 90-minute runtime? Do we know what runtime it's going to get? I'm guessing it's going to be around the 85 to 90-minute runtime. It's certainly not going to be anything over 1 hour 35, surely, with that setup. You could do a modern Ghostwatch on Facebook Live or something. Yeah, definitely. It's up, Jess. What's up, man? Yes. Let's see. Late Night with the Devil's ending is thematically brilliant, but it scuttles the surface plot entirely. So if you don't like immersive horror for the brain, you ain't gonna like the end. So where are we up to? Okay, so let's just get on to one of the main topics of tonight. So A24, Brian Fuller's left A24's whole TV show, Crystal Lake TV show. That's all up in the air now. Um, not entirely sure what's going on with that. A24, Friday the 13th, a good match. I personally don't think so. I don't know what. Now, I'd say this is where I go into it blind because I've literally, I don't know if anybody knows the reasons why Brian Fuller's left the whole project. I can only assume that there's been some sort of like artistic differences between what he wants to do and what A24 want. Um, but yeah, this whole I mean, we've been talking about this for the last couple of years. This whole A24, Friday the 13th Camp Crystal Lake TV show's been in the works for like 2 years, 3 years. It's been talked about, and we're still no closer to getting any sort of finished product. I honestly don't know what is going on. Like, I mean, I literally just occasionally check in and read some of the websites. Nobody really seems to know what's happening there. Um, like I say, I never really thought A24 and Friday the 13th was the right fit anyway. Um, but yeah, no, this is just going to put things back again. Um, but then obviously we've got this whole scenario now with like this. So moving things on, we've got the Jason universe now, which has just been revealed. Now, I don't really understand what's happening with this. I mean, so I'm going to just share a bloody disgusting screen if I can. So we've got we've got Jason Universe Horror Inc. begins a new era of the Friday the 13th franchise. Here's the plan. So this dropped like literally it dropped a couple of days after the announcements about Brian Fuller pulling out of the Crystal Lake TV show. The timing seems a bit sort of straight. I mean, the timing is either like deliberate or it's just coincidental, but while we wait to see what happens with A24 and Peacock's planned Friday the 13th TV series, Crystal Lake, currently undergoing a showrunner change, Horror Inc. has announced Jason Universe via an exclusive report from IGN, which is said to be the dawning of a new era from the original owners of the Friday the 13th franchise. So what does that mean? For decades, Jason shocked and thrilled audiences who kept coming back for more. We're excited to work with Victor Miller and Mark Toberoff on new projects we'll announce in the coming months. Said Robert Barsamian, president of Horror Inc. We're focused on honouring the legacy while elevating the fan experience and appealing to today's horror audiences as we develop new ways to watch, interact, and engage with the Jason universe. With the unique ability to remain at the forefront of pop culture for 44 years, Jason continues to top charts as one of the scariest villains of all time, with strong global awareness across multiple generations, thanks to billions of TikTok views. So alarm bells are ringing already. The fact that they're referencing TikTok is not a good sign. Plus millions and millions of gamers and movie fans. We can't wait to introduce the new Jason Universe activations. We can't wait to introduce new Jason Universe activations. What the fuck does that mean? To these amazing fans. Victor Miller is the writer of the original Friday the 13th, who won back the rights to the original horror classic several years back. That film's director, Sean Cunningham, has been battling Miller over the legal ruling ever since. From what we gather, Miller, Mark Toberoff, and Robert Barsamian joining forces for the Jason universe means the team has access to any, now this is important, to any and all existing elements of the Friday the 13th franchise. This is where I get confused. And I've had this conversation with Lorne before, and I still forget like what the fuck, who's got what and what. It's just so confusing, and it's not making any more sense now because, like, literally in the sentence it says means the team has access to any and all existing elements of the Friday the 13th franchise. Same goes for the Crystal Lake series, which all three are involved in, but it doesn't mean they can make any new Friday movies. Former Crystal Lake showrunner Brian Fuller explained back in 2022, the movie rights are a completely different thing. They are tied up at New Line on a super, super messy. an official website for the Jason universe has been launched this week. Um, Now I did see something else on another website, which basically be reference to like what they're going to offer with this Jason universe, and it seems to involve, they say, entertainment, um, gaming, um, kind of merchandise, but it makes no reference to anything that people really want to see. Um, there's no mention of any. Obviously, we're not going to get any mention of any new movies because that's all tied up. You know, it's just a complete mess. So yeah, all very exciting on the surface, but realistically, well, I want to see some new content on the screen. I don't want to see a new fucking Jason figure or some fucking video game. I don't fucking play video games. Now, if video games is your thing, fair enough. But if it's a video game about Friday the 13th, well, then it's a Friday the 13th video game. So it's based on the fucking movie franchise. So yeah, like I'm interested in the movie franchise, not some video game. Um, I don't know. I just don't know. Where it's going to go. For me, it's just clutching at straws. It seems to be clutching at straws. Well, we can't get a movie together, so we're just gonna. And the whole reference to TikTok. I mean, like, oh my god. I mean, if you're going to reference TikTok as a way to pull people in, oh my god. I mean, I can't think of anything worse. If that's worth this trying to, it makes sense, I suppose, to like try and bring the TikTok audience into something like this. But I, uh, Jesus Christ, man, uh, no, thank you. So yeah, I don't know what to make of that. The whole thing to me is just a complete shit show. It's been a shit show. Like the Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller, like fucking hell, man. Just I don't even know where to like. The sooner they just fuck off and just like, no, I'm not gonna say fuck off and die. That's too harsh. But like, come on, man. They're 85 years old. Just like disappear into the sunset. Can we just have like somebody come in and just buy the rights for everything and just like let's just get something new off the ground rather than this sort of like half-assed, you know, whatever they've got going. But well, we've got this, but we haven't got this. We can have this, but we can't have this. Like, just fuck that shit. Everybody's sick of it. Friday the 13th is the best property to adapt for TV. Brian Fuller has had great success with Hannibal, but this is definitely a different animal. Late night with the late night with the in a violent nature is 94 minutes. And it's not going to have a particularly long end credit sequence, probably. So you're probably are looking at very close to 90 minutes in terms of runtime. Stick to the Jason Free Friday the 13th TV classics that already exist. Yes, the Friday the 13th TV show without Jason. I love that show. Didn't he do Bates Motel 2? He may have done. I don't know. Lauren and Dan can answer that. I never watched Bates Motel. The Jason universe is a legal entity that allows licensing from across the franchise from a single source, except new comics, lots of merch, games, etc., even theme park exhibits. Yeah, it's just the whole thing's just an absolute mess. The thing the Jason universe is most actively pursuing is apparently an officially sanctioned convention. Oh, right, okay. So I can well imagine what an officially sanctioned convention. So am I to believe that an officially sanctioned convention would involve bringing in? Would that mean maybe trying to convince people who do other conventions like Kane Hodder, CJ Graham, people of that nature to only? Would that mean like maybe just only appear at their convention and maybe give them a pay rise? I don't understand. I mean, I don't know. I mean, let me know. But officially sanctioned convention sounds almost like you're going to try and. But I could be completely wrong in that nature. A new movie would be a guaranteed hit considering how long it's been. That would be their best bet at this point. Yeah, I mean, it's a license to print money. I mean, fuck me. I mean, the Black Phone. This is something I wasn't going to cover. I'm not going to cover it, but the Black Phone is getting a sequel either next year or the year after. It's like 16 million budget, and it made like $161 million. Like the fuck, the Black Phone. Like that movie was like, it looked like shit. Fucking grey, grimy, fucking depressing fucking movie. Didn't think it was particularly interesting, but it is what it is. Made a fucking shit ton of money on the budget, so that's getting a sequel. Man, fucking hell, just do and can you imagine what a Friday the 13th movie do? Would drop at Friday the 13th movie, middle of summer, you know, just get a badass Jason, get a likable cast. Man, that would do such good money. It really would. 15 years. You're looking at a demographic of kids who haven't seen a Jason movie in the cinema. 2009. It's 15 years. It's like fuck me, I was like in my early 30s when that movie dropped. Still old, but I think we got like 9 Jason movies in like fucking like 10 years or some shit back in the 80s. An all outdoors convention haunt type attraction would be fun. One of the coolest things I did in LA years ago was the Nightmare at Camp Crystal Lake Immersive Horns. Is Jason going to take the one-ship challenge? That press release wasn't meant for fans but investors. So mentioning TikTok is really just to show audience engagement. TikTok audience would be horrified that the film is over 45 seconds long. Yeah, definitely, Jay. They'd be completely fucking clueless. They'd be lost. Get ready for the Jason dance to go viral. It would be like the creation entertainment model. They do Supernatural, Z, the Stargate, etc. We're in the midst of the Nepo baby horror directors era. Yes, we are. Hey, what's up, Russell? What's up, man? Nice to see you on board, man. So where are we at now? We've covered Jason Universe. Where are we to? Okay, so 28 years later drops next year. Okay, this is a fucking franchise, man. I just don't another franchise. I'm just thinking, yeah, just leave it in the past. 28 days later, overrated in my opinion. 28 weeks later, great movie. 28 years later, at least they've waited like nearly 28 years to drop this movie. It's going to be like, by the time the movie drops, it's going to be 23 years since the original. But Cillian Murphy apparently may be coming back. He's definitely in some sort of producing role or like executive producing role. But like, again, this is just a fucking franchise. Like, I've no interest in seeing a film for. Now, like, I can see. Well, you know what? I don't know if the market's there for this because realistically, the 28 years movies, 28 years movies, the 28 days later, 28 weeks later, they're 2002, 2005, I think, or 2004. You're talking 20 years ago, 21 years ago, 24 years ago, or 22 years ago for the original movie. And I don't know whether the interest is there for like a younger generation. Cillian Murphy is probably the biggest selling point if they can bring him back because he's like just become like this sort of global superstar. He was big before Oppenheimer, but he's become even bigger since. And there's going to be a lot of people who probably aren't aware that like he got his breakthrough in 28 days later. But like I just don't see, and apparently this is going to be a trilogy of movies. Like so, I'm assuming it's going to be 28 years later, part 1, part 2, part 3. I don't really understand why they need to make 3 of these movies because it's obviously going to be all years later. It's not going to be you can't really go anything after 28 years later because if you're going to have the same cast, then you're going to have to be. It's going to take place all in the same time frame. Like the cast is looking good. I mean, I will say that. You've got Jack O'Connell from. He's from anybody seen the Amy Winehouse biopic? He's in that. He's also the really evil little shit in Eden Lake in 2009, where he was just like a teenager. He's in a great movie called Tower Block from 2012, which a lot of people probably is not. I know Dan. I know Dan's seen it. Really sort of good British sort of like low budget horror movie. He's really good. He's thoroughly invested in his roles, and I always believe everything he plays. Jodie Comer, who's not really, she was in Free Guy, She's more of a star in the UK. She's like a really solid actress. Ray Fiennes, Aaron Taylor Johnson. So I mean, the cast is looking like shit hot. I'm not gonna lie. You're getting quality. You're getting this quality of cast on board. I mean, it's not a guarantee for success, but even if it is a fantastic film, I just think that I don't think it's gonna carry over into like box office. I just don't see it. Um, that's just me. Um, but it is what it is. I mean, if it's a massive box office success, then it's horror movies doing well at the box office. I'm all for that. But I don't know. I mean, to be a box office hit in the cinema now, I mean, my God, you've really got to sort of like be pulling out all the stops. We're not like if anybody when you go, I don't know what it's like in the States for you guys, but going to cinema in the UK now, it's like a dead experience. Unless like the last time I remember big audiences was probably, I mean, obviously Endgame was like the last time I seen a huge audience. Post COVID, I can't remember anything really. I mean, I avoid like opening nights, opening weekends, but you'd expect like a decent audience, like in the following week, of like if it's like an 8 o'clock showing, it's just not. And obviously these are multiplexes, so they've got multiple screens, but and I also think like this whole idea of like the summer blockbuster, like which you get now, which we've had for like the last 40 years since Jaws, but the whole idea of the summer blockbuster made a lot more sense back in the day before social media. I mean, I was thinking like now, like would it not make more sense to drop a movie like in the middle of winter when the fucking weather's horrendous and people just want to go get warm and watch a movie? Like dropping a movie, like I mean, like in terms of the UK, like weather's shit. So like you drop a movie in the middle of June or July when it's like we actually get some decent weather. People have got better things to do, like and especially in the UK, people, but the target market they're going for, especially now with like a younger audience, they just want to go, have fun, going out, going drinking or going to the park and stuff. They're not really going to go and sit in a dark room for like 2 and 3/4 hours for like what is the typical runtime of a summer blockbuster now. So I almost think like the idea of a summer blockbuster now is with this social media generation is just like move it to fucking December. I mean, I think Endgame dropped in November and that did pretty well. So yeah, I mean, 28 years later, what do you guys think? I'm kind of like I'm a bit indifferent to it, really am. Watches looks pretty good, and Cuckoo I'm pumped for. I don't know about either of those movies. Um, Lawn says I really dislike the 28 films. Um, yeah, 28 films. The 28 days later films, Russell, or 28 weeks. There's not even like a real sort of way to define those films. It's just like 20. Um, Cuckoo. What is the synopsis for Cuckoo? I've not heard of this one. At least I don't think I have anyway. Um, The affected population survived for 2 decades. How? Explain, please. They'll tie themselves. Yeah, well, that is the thing with the 28 days later, weeks later kind of premise is like they shouldn't really still be alive, really. So they'll think of something, I'm sure. That is a big logical issue with zombie stories that take place over that long period of time. They would all be a pile of mush. Shout out to everyone in Toronto, Canada. Absolutely. Um, Dune was pretty packed. Dune, yeah, Dune 2. I checked Dune 2 out probably about 10 days after. Um, but I mean, I'd like to think Dune 2 did well because I mean, I love the Dune movies, but I still think one was better than two. But I love Toronto. I have to get back out that way for a wrestling buddy show soon. Okay, so where are we up to now? So we've got okay, this is one I did not see coming. I Know What You Did Last Summer is dropping in 2025. Not a remake by all accounts. Freddie Prince Jr. is apparently maybe on board. I don't understand. I don't really get this. This is one I did not see this one coming. I don't think anybody predicted that, and I Know What You Did Last Summer would be dropping in 2025. Like, considering we're like into like May now, like how are they going to get this movie out if there doesn't even seem to be? I'm not even sure they've gone into like pre-production, but apparently it's dropping in the summer of 2025, the same year as Scream 7. It's like 1997 all over again. It really is, which I'm okay with that. I mean, like I say, I've got an issue with like small town slasher movies set in 2024, made in 2024. But if you want to bring back an I Know What You Did Last Summer, small town horror movie, you know, I'm all down for that. It was never like my sort of like go to like sort of slasher movie at the late 90s. I was always more of a Scream guy, definitely more of an urban legend guy. But I still got a soft spot for that film, just the time period that came out. But um, like, does anybody really want like an I Know What You Did Last Summer movie now? I mean, the TV show, man, the TV show was fucking atrocious. I don't know if anybody, I don't think anybody watched it. I think I was the only person, like, probably, I can't speak for, I reckon I was probably one of the only few people in United Kingdom who watched that TV show. And probably there was probably about 4 people in the States who watched it. That TV show was fucking horrendous. I mean, it was so bad. I mean, I know people hate on like the Scream TV show, but that's kind of, people like make hate on season 1 or season 2 or see. This was just one season of absolute horrendousness, and like they never even got a sniff of a second season. Um, but it is what it is. But Freddie Prinze Jr., he's a fucking idiot. But if he wants to come back and like resurrect his career, then who am I to say no? But that's what I did not see coming. I did not expect to see it, and I Know What You Did Last Summer remake, requel, sequel, whatever they want to call it. I don't know. It's dropping next summer, so um, okay. Let's just talk about briefly talking. So, Strangers One, um, is I'm not gonna say it's bomb. I mean, I put in the description of the video bombs. I mean, when I say bombs, in terms of like viewers, reviews, Strangers One is just absolutely bombed. I've not seen the movie yet. I'll wait for streaming. I mean, I am not paying my good money to go and watch. I mean, I don't even. Like I've tried to avoid spoilers because I thought when I go into the movie, I don't want to know too much. But looking at the reviews, I don't give a fuck now. So let me know. Is Strangers One? Is this a remake of the original? Is it? It's clearly not connected to. Well, is it connected to the original movies, or is this something different? Because obviously, in Strangers Pray at Night, they all get fucking offed. This is meant to be a prequel to the first movie, but the kids, so they're children. So if it's a prequel to the first movie, how would they be even smaller and even be less effective? So I don't really know how this whole Strangers 1, 2, 3 works. I mean, this movie, I don't know how it's going down at the cinema. I can't imagine it's going to do particularly well box office wise. And the fact that they've either like filmed the 2 movies or they've committed to making 2 movies. From what I gather, they've already made they're in the process of making the next 2 movies, or they've already made the 2 movies. Um, like how does that work in terms of like, I mean, if this movie flops like horrendously, like why would you like wouldn't you wait to see? So it's like the Lord of the Rings franchise where you've got like a $200 million budget, you've got one of the best directors in the world on board. It's like it's a passion project, and it's gonna do something like the Strangers franchise. It's it is what it is. It's not like it's a niche sort of like mildly popular couple of movies from like the last decade. So to go into this with like, well, we're going to make 3 movies. So if the first movie bombs and you're already going through the process of making the next film, like, oh, well, how does that work? I mean, that makes no fucking sense. I don't really understand why you would do that. So make it make sense. because I don't fucking understand. Because this movie apparently is fucking shit. So I don't get it. But, you know, I'm not an expert. I'm not in the movie business. I don't know how you make movies. I don't know how you make money. And well, I've got an idea how you make money, but modern Hollywood doesn't seem to understand how to make money that well as it used to. So it is what it is. So yeah. But yeah, the movie's got like a 11% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's got, and I don't put any investment in like critics reviews because I think they are just like bought and paid up shills now. I only go off like user reviews, but the user reviews are like 40%, which isn't particularly good. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think Strangers could have just bowed out with Pray at Night. Pray at Night was a fucking great movie, I think. Far better than the 2008 film. Um, like I say, the problem with I always have with The Strangers is it's just like three fucking kids with masks on, and they're not particularly. I mean, anybody with any ounce of sort of like skills in like self protection, guns, knives, martial arts, they just fucking wipe these little cunts out in a fucking heartbeat. You know, it's like fuck me, come on. So it is what it is. Anyway, let's just quickly jump back into the chat. Daniel, sorry. The Bodies is wrestling name, XCW guy. Dustin Buffalo Bill type gimmick. I kind of sort of remember what you did a quarter of a century ago, maybe. Okay. I think Lord's been slightly sarcastic there. That's not like you, Lord. I hated the end of the show. Are we talking about Late Night with the Devil? Oh no, he hated the end of the. I know we did last summer show. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I could care less about the I know movies. Yeah, that's the problem. And you've got like, I mean, Dan, people like Dan who are like hardcore horror movie fans, and if he doesn't give a shit, you know, um, it's okay to let go of these franchises. Um, Go to watch the matches on YouTube. Are they really strangers if we're familiar with them? Yeah, well, there you go. Well, that's why I had to bring it back to the a prequel point. So the strangers once again. Reviewing it Wednesday, but I will say it's not a prequel. It's a remake, reimagining. Okay, you may want to wait for my review, Mike. Okay, the next movie comes out later this year. Next Strangers. Good evening. What's up there, Sean? What's up? Where have you been, Sean? Come on. I did put this on. You're not on Twitter. That's why you haven't seen it. If you'd been on Twitter, you would have seen my tweet. The Strangers After Next. I read on IMDb they already shot all three movies. So fuck me. I will stick with the Strangers OG in the sequel. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and them, of course, them. I will always hype them. The French movie from 2007, which is what the Strangers movie from 2008 is based on. Them is the best home invasion movie of the 21st century. I will say. I can't think of a better home invasion movie of the 21st century than them. Please comment in the comments in the chat if you can think of a better home invasion movie. I mean, I've not seen all home invasion movies of the 21st century, but what I've seen, I'm expecting Dan to come up with a couple. I know a movie I've not seen, which I know is, I think I know Dan will probably recommend, is a movie called Christmas Cruelty, which I think is a Scandinavian home invasion movie, which I know is meant to be like really, really dark and really, really good, but I've not seen that. So based on what I've seen so far, that is them for me is up there. Um, um, Spirit Halloween needed a reason to sell all the overstock masks from 15 years ago. Yeah, the strangers wouldn't do well visiting my house at all. Kind of like those goddamn Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah. There are plenty of great original horror movies coming out. No need to keep going back to the original. Yes, I agree. I don't have Twitter, my bad. Although it is X now, so I would say people are not as dumb as they are in these stranger movies, but I'm proven wrong via the news every day. Yeah, you've got a point there. Um, Don't breathe. Yeah, I don't mind. I'm not. I like Don't Breathe, but I'm not. It's okay. I mean, it's a solid like 7 out of 10 movie for me. Um, I like it more than the sequel. Um, would Night of the Living Dead count as a home invasion? Yes, possibly. Yeah, so I suppose you could, but it's a zombie movie primarily, then a home invasion movie, I suppose. Totally different, but Shaitan is an exceptional supernatural home invasion movie. But yeah, Ills is it's I think that's the French title. Them rocks, yeah, it does. Coffee Table is one to check out. I've not heard of that. I'll make a note of that one. I'm reviewing Shaitan on Wednesday. Nice. So finally, last but not least, tonight. Very little information on this, but it looks well. I mean, I'm just going to base it on the fact that Ty West is involved. So Ty West has announced that he's directing. I think it's Ty West directing. He's at least involved. Maybe he's writing it. He's involved in some way. Night Business, which is based on a 2017 comic novel. Um, and apparently Zac Efron is on board about a. It's set in the 1980s, and Zac Efron is to play a stripper who apparently tries to prevent a serial killer killing more women. That's all I know. That's like literally I saw it like on Deadline or Bloody Disgusting, like a brief description. I have no idea. Like, I'm all down for if Zac Efron playing a stripper in the 1980s. Come on. I mean, Zac Efron's already got the body. So, I mean, we can just keep on forcing him steroids down his throat to keep him in shape. But yeah, if Ty West wants to make a movie set in the 1980s about a stripper who tried to prevent a serial killer, I'm all down for that. Based looking at the trailer for Maxine, man, I mean that looks the shit. It really does. If he pulls this one off, then it's one of the greatest 1, 2, 3s of any like director's career, in my opinion. Like I'm not the biggest fan of Pearl, but I can appreciate that it's a very well made movie with and I can understand people's arguments to say Pearl is better than X. Most people do prefer Pearl to X. So I can understand like that it's a very well made movie. I just don't personally enjoy it as much as X because I just don't like Mia Goth's character in it. I don't like Pearl as a character. I think she's a very kind of unlikable, bitch, and she's kind of like I need someone to root for. But I can certainly appreciate that it's a very well made movie. And like Maxine just looks so fucking good. Throw it in like the Night Stalker as kind of I don't know if like how much that's just going to be like if that's going to be a subplot or whether it's just that's just thrown in for good measure to give it that like 80s feel. But yeah, it just looks so good. Yeah, Maxine is definitely it looks. I mean, I don't know when the movie's dropping. Is it dropping in July? Is it? I don't know when we're going to start seeing some like early reviews for it, but like, yeah, I'm just Maxine in a Violent Nature. They're the two that I'm just really, really looking forward to. I wonder if my Goth is in it. Yeah, she could well be. Pearl was excellent, and you're not really supposed to like it. Yeah, I get that. So it's dropping in on July 5th in America. Okay, so we'll probably get it. Look, August. I don't know. That's the problem with some of these like smaller movies that drop in America. We have to wait sometimes like 4, 5, 6 weeks for them. Coffee Table is not a date movie or a good one for young parents. Okay, I'll be intrigued now. I'm definitely intrigued. Mia Goth is going to be the bride in Del Toro's Frankenstein movie. Okay, it's interesting. Although Mia Goth doesn't she like kick people in the head on the? Isn't she like in trouble for like kicking somebody in the head or some shit? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I remember whoever the guy is who can play like Mia Goth's like what like 4 feet fucking 10. She probably weighs about like 70 pounds. Like if she kicked me in the head, it'd probably be like getting bit by an ant or something. I just wouldn't even fucking feel it. So yeah, just man up, man, man up. Come on, she's an actress. That's what they do. They're just bitches. Anyway, I've cut all bases for tonight. So yeah, this is gonna try and make this like a maybe once every 3, 4 weeks. There's not really always enough like horror movie news going around. So it's not like sort of a weekly thing really, but I'll it's good to get together and just talk about this shit. Once every 3 to 4 weeks. Probably be back next week with something totally different. But yeah, that's a nice little so like would be going like an hour and 10, hour and five. So for everybody who jumped on board, thank you very much for keeping the chat going and for filling me in on everything I didn't know. And there's a lot of shit I don't know. That's why the experts come in and help me out. Um, but yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for Russell, Sean, Dan, Lorne, Ben. There were other people in the chat as well, I'm sure. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to call it a night because it is late in the UK and I need to go to bed. So thank you guys. I'll see you next week. Good night.